Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Hi, and welcome to episode 328 of Martha Runs the World. The episode this week should be titled, What If Things Go Really, Really Wrong on the Trail and How to Stop Them from Happening in the First Place. But that's a little bit long of a title, so that's why I shortened it down a little bit. As runners, if we do run on trails, we usually don't have to worry about disasters that may happen to casual hikers who aren't prepared, or backpackers or thru hikers that go on very long trips, backpacking trips. But sometimes things do happen. Let's say you are a long-distance trail runner. You like to go on 20-mile runs. You're planning for a 100-miler. Or you're a fast packer and you do spend a lot of time in the backcountry, or you're thinking about it. Things can happen if you like to go a little bit farther out than you're used to, or a little bit away from civilization. Now, this is not a continuation of the Missing Runners episode that I did previously a few weeks ago, but it's more of a guide to help you prevent something that could happen in the first place. And I thought it would be kind of a nice thing to do, so just in case you don't end up on a Missing Runners episode later that I might want to do. I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I know this is a serious topic, so I don't mean to make light of it, but you know what I'm saying. This episode is not meant to scare you, but it's meant to make sure that we are as prepared as possible if things do go wrong on our run, so that we can help ourselves get out of a tough situation. Here's 3 examples of hikers whose stories didn't end well. The first one is Ed Rosenthal. He decided to go for a hike last minute at Joshua Tree National Park. Joshua Tree is in Southern California in the desert. That should give you a clue. It's in the desert. It's part of the Mojave Desert. They have these really cool trees called Joshua trees, and they're not really trees, actually. They're more cactus, but they look like trees. It's a really neat park. He went out without bringing water, without bringing food, which, yeah, you don't go on a hike in the desert, no matter what time of year, even if it's in wintertime, you don't go on a hike in the desert without water, at least anyway. He got lost and he was found 6 days later. 6 days without the appropriate gear and the appropriate supplies. And he was found alive, fortunately. The next one, and I'll put links to more of their stories so you can find out a little bit more about these particular hikers. I'm not going to go into full detail because it really isn't about them. I'm just giving you examples of how not to do it and what went wrong. Andrew Devers got lost on a trail in the Pacific Northwest and was found by hikers 9 days later. He had only brought a can of SpaghettiOs with him, and I think he brought a can of Mountain Dew because he wanted the caffeine. So all he existed on during these 9 days was SpaghettiOs, Mountain Dew. He picked wild berries, and he drank unfiltered water, which is not a good choice, from a river nearby. That's all he had. That's it. And they did find him, fortunately. He had gotten lost. He didn't know where he was, and he went through a lot of bad things before he was found, but he was found. The last case is not quite as much of a happy ending. It's very tragic. Stephen Otter Olshansky was a thru hiker. He got stranded on the Continental Divide Trail, which I did a whole episode on, the CDT, the Continental Divide Trail, I mean. He had already done the CDT 4 times. He had completed this 3,100-mile trail 4 times. He was a very seasoned thru hiker. He knew what he was doing. But unfortunately, he decided not to bring an inReach with him. That's a Garmin inReach. It's a GPS tracking device that you can bring with you, that you can make SOS calls with it, that you can text with people. Even if there's no signal there, you can still get out SOS or emails. You can still get out SOS or text to people. It might take a little bit of time, but you can still do it. It's invaluable, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But he got stuck in a Lagunitas campground in New Mexico because of an early snowstorm, didn't check the weather, and he found himself, he couldn't leave. He couldn't get out at all. And it's a very tragic story, and his remains were not found until the following spring. It's very, very sad, and like I said, I will give a link to his whole story if you want to read it. These are things that did not have to happen, and it's really sad. If you prepare yourself, you don't have to go through anything tragic. The hikers have 10 hiking essentials. Now, these are for hiking, not for trail running, but we can adapt these to help ourselves. Yes, you don't want to carry a huge backpack with you or even a huge day pack with you when you go on a trail run. It's just not practical. But you can adapt these 10 things for your trail run, especially if you're going more than a couple miles. If you're only going to go out for a couple miles, that's fine. If you're just going to go out and back to a trail, go out a mile, come back a mile, that's fine. But if you're going to go out for any extensive period of time, like a day, if you're going to do 10 miles, if you're going to do 20 miles, and if you're going to be away from any kind of civilization, or you're going to be out, like if you're going to go out in the Sierras, if you're going to go out on the Tahoe Rim Trail, if you're going to go out in the Pacific Crest Trail, if you're going to go out somewhere a little bit far away from people, this is a really good list. Okay, the first thing on the list is navigation. You want to have GPS or a map. A paper map is good to have if your GPS isn't working, but you want to have something. Watches now have maps on them. You can do that. If you are, like me, are a paid customer of AllTrails, the app on your phone, you can download a map of where you want on your phone so you can look at it if you don't have any kind of signal for your phone. That is very, very handy to have. I love having that when I do a lot of hiking up in the Sierra Nevadas. I like to download a map of where I'm going so that I have it on my phone. So if there's no signal for my phone, then I can just look at the map. I have it right there on my phone. And I'll, of course, make sure your phone is charged so that there's enough battery life. That is also important. And have a backup charger that you bring with you. I'm going to add that. That's number 11. Sun protection, sunglasses, sunscreen, and hat. Make sure that you are protected from the sun. This is something that I always wear a hat. I always have a hat on, but I don't use enough sunscreen. I need to do better, and I will do better this summer, I promise. Insulation, extra clothing, even just a jacket, bring with you. You don't have to bring all these extra clothes, but just bring a jacket with you to help you if the weather gets cool or if you get stranded. And there's going to be another thing on the list that I don't think that we have to use, but you might bring a little something. Get to that a little bit. Illumination, a headlamp. It doesn't hurt to bring a headlamp, especially if it's in the more winter hours where the sun sets very quickly. When the sun starts setting at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and you're still on the trail, you're going to really, really, really appreciate that headlamp. First aid supplies, you don't need much. As a trail runner, you really don't need much. Maybe some moleskin, maybe a little Neosporin, maybe some tape, just a few little, maybe a sterilized needle, maybe just a few little things. You don't need much. Fire starter, I kind of iffy on this one thing. I don't think we really need that. I don't think you need that at all, but if you want to take a lighter with you, that's not going to hurt anything. That's something if you're out backpacking or something like that. We don't really need that for ourselves as runners. Nutrition, of course, you've got to bring nutrition with you because you're going to be on the trail for a while. And I don't care if you're fasting or not. Bring food, bring yourself. Yeah, sure, you're going to bring your whatever you're going to have, but bring something a little bit more substantial. Bring a nutrition bar with you, Pro bars are really good. They can keep you going for a while. Bring something of substance, though, especially if you're going to be out there. If you get stuck out there for a few hours, you're going to want something more than a few goos and gels. Hydration, obviously, bring water with you. If you have a filter like Katadyn filter, bring that with you. That is very, very important to have. I would say that especially if you're out where there are streams and or a lake or something like that, a filter is really great. That way you don't have to lug all this water with you. But if you're in the desert, bring extra water. It's going to weigh more. It's going to be a pain in the neck to bring, but bring it. You will thank yourself. Now, this is the controversial one, emergency shelter. Yeah, we're not going to bring a tent with us. Sorry, we're not going to do that. But I would say one of those blankets that they give you at the end of marathons, those silver, I guess they call them space blankets, bring that with you. That doesn't take up any space in your vest. Bring one of those with you if you like. Navigation systems. Now, you can get if you don't want to bring an InReach, you don't have to. They're kind of expensive. I would say if you're planning on doing a lot of backcountry trail running, if you're going way out in the middle of nowhere and you're going to do that a few times, I would say it would make up for it financially. It's not something I'm going to do, so I wouldn't do it. But if you don't want to do that, you can always use the Far Out app or the OnX app. Those are always really good. Now, there are also Far Out app is a good app to communicate with your loved ones. Also, good choices to stay in touch with your loved ones so that they can track you are Life 360, Gaia GPS, or Track My Tour. Those are all really nice apps. I already mentioned the water filter. That's really, really good. That helped me a lot when I was last year when I did some hiking up in Lake Tahoe. That was really nice to have that. Be prepared for the weather. You're going to run in, check, and recheck weather reports. If you checked it the night before, check it that morning. Things can change, especially if you're in a mountainous area or a desert area. Things change very quickly. It can show as clear skies the night before, and then it can be rainy that morning. So really double and triple check weather reports. It's really important to know what you need to bring. Don't try to overdo it. This is really something that, and I'm going to cover this more in a future episode, probably actually next week's episode. Don't try to be Kilian Jornet. I know he can hop on mountaintops like a mountain goat. He can do that. We mere mortals cannot do that. So don't try to think that you can go out and just go 25 miles without any effort at all in one day. And boy, aren't you amazing? Most people really, really cannot do that. Some can, but most of us can't. I tend to think that I can do too much in one day, but then I've realized that, maybe I overestimated how much I can do. There's always those people that say, you can do more if you want. If you tell yourself you can do more, you can do it. Not always. Sometimes I tell myself that I can do it. No, I really can't. I think it's more a problem that people think that they can do more than they actually can, and then they get into trouble. That is a huge problem. And like I said, I'm going to get into more of that next week. Make sure you are up for it. If you didn't sleep well the night before, you're probably not going to have the best performance that day. So cut back a few miles. It's okay. It's all right. It's better to do less than do too much and get into trouble. This I am realizing in my old age. Just realize it's okay to be a little undertrained. It's not okay to be too overtrained and mess up. That's how I fell and hurt my shoulder, shattered my shoulder, I should say. That is really, I think, how I hurt myself. So just make sure and take care of yourself and make sure you're doing everything properly. You're not going to do everything properly, but just do everything as well as you can, as well as you possibly can, I should say. Tell at least one person where you're going to be, or at least in the vicinity of where you're going to be, so that they know that if you don't come back at a certain time, they know that you might be in trouble. You may live alone, like I do, so you don't really have anyone here to tell. Okay, I'm not very good at that, so maybe I need to get better at telling people where I'm going to be. But I try to. It's not easy when you live alone. It's not easy when you have a family and you tell them where you're going to be. Know the environment you're running. If you're going to be running in the desert, understand where you're going to be running and be prepared for that. I've already gone into that. Just know where you're going to be running. If you're going to be in a snow area, or if you're going to be in a cold area where you're going to hit some more mountain peak type places and it's going to be snow at the top, make sure that you bring your shoe spikes with you so that you can hit the ice. It's way better to not need those spikes than to be up in the ice and where you needed them and slip on the ice on a steep, narrow mountain trail, isn't it? It certainly is. Many people have hurt themselves or worse by not being prepared on those very narrow, steep mountain trails. Do not underestimate a trail and overestimate your ability, as I've gone into that already. Have respect for the mountain, have respect for nature, and understand that nature doesn't care what you do. Nature doesn't care how skilled you are, how unskilled you are. Nature doesn't care. There's no emotion there at all. So understand that. Now, if you do have an alert emergency service like InReach or the like, note what could happen. When sending an SOS from a trail, expect a quick response from an emergency response center, which will then inform the appropriate local rescue agency. The center will also attempt to contact you and your emergency contacts for more information. The rescue process itself can take several hours depending on factors like severity of the situation and search and rescue protocols. This may not be a quick thing. This may take a long time. Just remember that. You may be out there for a while. You may have to wait a long, long time. This is where your own preparation will come in handy. What did you bring? How much food do you have? How much water do you have? Remember the list that I gave you earlier? This is where this comes into play. Remember that blanket that we talked about? Yeah. Now, charges. Will you be charged for this emergency service if you need it? In most U.S. locations, including California, search and rescue services, SAR as they call it, including helicopter rescues, are typically free for the person being rescued. This is because many SAR teams are volunteers and operate as a public service. However, ground ambulance services and other medical transport costs may be subject to insurance or out-of-pocket expenses. Here's the detailed breakdown. Search and rescue, SAR. In the U.S., SAR efforts are often provided by volunteers and are generally free for the person being rescued. On a Reddit thread, they mentioned that SAR is free in most places, and Backpacker Magazine noted that SAR teams are often volunteers who help stricken hikers as a public service. The Mountain Rescue Association opposes charging subjects of SAR missions for the cost of their rescue. Ground ambulance services. While SAR itself is free, ground ambulance services, which may transport a rescued person from a trailhead to a hospital, are usually covered by insurance or subject to out-of-pocket costs. So I would say if you're going to be hiking, you don't have insurance, you should get insurance unless you don't mind getting the cost. Helicopter rescues. The cost of helicopter rescues, which may be part of a SAR operation, is also generally covered by public agencies or the public budget. The California Highway Patrol covers the cost of any airlift they provide. Now, there are exceptions to this. There may be exceptions, for example, if someone is found to be grossly negligent or engages in reckless behavior that necessitates the rescue. Or someone's like on a trail, the trail is closed, and they do something really stupid, and that involves a rescue that, well, then they'll probably have to pay all the costs of the rescue, including the helicopter ride, the cost of the helicopter going out to pick them up, and that can run into the thousands. Don't be reckless. Don't be one of those stupid Instagrammers who do really stupid things and then have to be rescued out of it. Don't be one of them. Just don't be a quote-unquote influencer. Those people are always bad. Okay. Now, one of the safest ways to go trail running in a remote area is to go with someone else. And an even safer way is to have someone following your progress in a four-wheel drive vehicle, waiting for you at different trailheads, and that they can give you more food and water, help you with like a traveling aid station, so to speak, and help you with that, anything you need if you're going to be out there for a while. But this isn't always possible. I see these things in videos. Wes Plate has a lot of that when he does these practice runs that he has. His wife helps him out. But not all of us have that availability. One of the most dangerous things we as trail runners can do is think we have the same abilities as those elite trail runners we see in videos, like Kilian, as I mentioned. It's really dangerous to think that you can just hop on mountaintops like Kilian. We can't. Here's a thought. And like I said, I'm going to get more into it next week. But you don't have to run 100 miles. You don't have to do these big races. If you don't want to do them, don't do them. Not everybody has to do them, and you don't have to do them. You don't have to do these giant, rough races. You don't always have to go bigger. You don't always have to go tougher. You don't always have to be part of this. It's just peer pressure, and it's done by people who think that they're being awesome in this, but they're not. They're just it's great for them, but maybe it's not great for you. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's not great for me. I don't know. I'm going to do my 50-mile race in June. Maybe that's as far as I want to go, and maybe that's it for me. I have no idea. We will just have to see, won't we? I don't know, because I've got a couple things, like one thing coming up, like retirement in a couple of years, and I don't have money to spend on a 100-mile race. They cost a lot of money, and I'm not going to have that for a little while. So we'll just have to see in the years coming if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But the bottom line is, to keep yourself safe means not doing things that will risk your life. I know, weird, logical, simple, right? Of course, now there are things that we have no control over that happen on the trail. Sometimes you're just going to slip and fall, even though you've prepared everything. This is where your preparation comes in to play. You have to be prepared. It takes a lot more time and it takes a lot more planning, but it's really worth it. I think that being on the trail is so worthwhile, and I think that being out in those areas, when I go up to the Tahoe area in the Sierra Nevadas, I love being up there so much that I think it's worth all the extra time and effort to plan. So if you're like me and you like to be in those areas, I mean, I'm probably not going to do any of the long, fast packing trips that I wanted to at some time a few years ago. But if you want to do them, take the precautions and do them safely, or as safe as you can, and you'll have a great time. No worries. All right. So this is just a little bit to help you and to make the best out of your amazing, amazing trail runs. All right. So that is it for this week. And boy, I've been working so much lately. I don't know. But I think that the work's going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to get some long trail runs this weekend and get geared up for my races. I have a race in May and I have a race in June, my big race in June, and it's coming together. So how are you doing? I hope your races are doing great. I hope your runs are doing great. And that is it. And all the information will be on the website, martharunstheworld.com. Also, if you want to be a Patreon patron, that is also on the website. If you want to give a couple bucks through Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, that is also on the website. And if you want to email me, it's martharunstheworld@gmail.com. And until next week, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.